There's an infamously embarrassing story about what Steven Seagal supposedly did to himself after crossing a legendary stunt coordinator. And that's far from the only time he's offended pretty much everyone he ever met. Charlize Theron is quite the thespian and action star. She won an Oscar for 2003's Monster, and she's kicked butt in the likes of Atomic Blonde, The Old Guard, and Mad Max Fury Road. But one thing she hasn't quite cracked is how to get along with Steven Seagal. During a 2020 interview with Howard Stern, Theron criticized Seagal's fighting skills, or lack thereof, by referencing viral videos of him clumsily pushing around bumbling opponents. As she put it, he's just incredibly overweight and pushing people. He's overweight and can barely fight. It's ridiculous. Theron also referenced the numerous allegations of sexual assault and improper behavior against Seagal that have been made by the likes of Portia de Rossi, Jenny McCarthy, and others. As she explained, "I have no problem talking about him because he's not very nice to women, so you." John Leguizamo has been more outspoken than most people about his disdain for Steven Seagal. That makes sense when you learn that Seagal basically attacked the much smaller Leguizamo on the set of the 1996 thriller Executive Decision. During an appearance on the radio show Q with Tom Power, Leguizamo revealed that Seagal addressed the cast to let them know that he was in command and that his word was law. Leguizamo's response to this proclamation was barely stifled laughter, which apparently didn't sit too well with Seagal, and the smaller actor quickly paid the price for his co-star's anger.
He taekwondo'd my ass against the brick wall. He went, poof. He's 6'5" and caught me off guard, knocked all the air at me. I was like, ah.
This incident understandably stuck in Leguizamo's craw, to the extent that when he played a washed-up Hollywood star in 2022's The Menu, he knew exactly who to base his performance on. As he explained to comicbook.com, "What am I, going to spoof myself like I'm a failed actor? Hell no, I wouldn't have done that. I used Steven Seagal because I hate him." Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme were two of the biggest action stars of the 1990s. They sported two very different combat styles, so a fight between them would have made for an interesting match. And it almost came to pass during a party thrown at the residence of none other than Sylvester Stallone. As Stallone recalled to Ain't It Cool News in 2006, Van Damme was tired of Seagal saying he could kick his ass and went right up to him and offered him the chance to step outside. When Seagal declined and left, Van Damme followed him to a nightclub and made his offer again, but then Seagal vanished. Van Damme verified this story in 2023 in an interview with The Telegraph, adding that he only tracked Seagal down at the nightclub because he left him waiting outside for 2 hours before chickening out. He also noted, "People told me he doesn't speak so nice about me. I don't know why." It seems like it would take a lot to get on the bad side of someone as affable as Bob Odenkirk. But Steven Seagal somehow managed that feat during the notorious time that he hosted Saturday Night Live in April 1991. Odenkirk was a writer on SNL at the time, and decades later, he was still confounded by the humorlessness and cluelessness displayed by Seagal that night. As he recalled during an appearance on The Howard Stern Show in 2022, his attitude the whole week was, he kept saying, "I've never seen your show. I don't know what you do here."
Like, really? You've never seen Saturday Night Live? Where do you live?
Odenkirk described one sketch in particular, written by Seagal, in which he invaded an Exxon board meeting to beat up everyone present before angrily proclaiming,
"This is what happens when you pollute the planet."
According to Odenkirk, the audience was mystified. When Stern asked how SNL producer Lorne Michaels could have allowed this fiasco to happen, Odenkirk explained that by the time that everything was going off the rails during rehearsals, it was too late to do anything. You can add the late, great martial arts legend Bob Wall to the list of people who definitely weren't fans of Steven Seagal. In the mid-1980s, before Seagal became famous, he was trash-talking what he perceived to be the sorry state of martial arts in America. Wall took this personally, and a serious feud began to take shape that was fueled in part by dueling interviews in Black Belt magazine. Wall publicly panned Seagal's debut feature film, 1988's Above the Law, to which Seagal responded, "If Mr. Wall has anything bad to say about me, let him come say it to my face." By 1991, Wall had put together a squad of famous martial artists known as the Dirty Dozen, whom he claimed were all ready and willing to fight Seagal in the ring. And he made it clear what he thought of him by declaring, "I know 5 dozen guys who could whip Seagal's hide. There's not just one guy who can embarrass Seagal. There's dozens. I only picked 12 of them." Chuck Norris is another famous martial artist who didn't exactly harbor fuzzy feelings towards Steven Seagal. As Bob Wall's former instructor, Norris was doubtless aware of the beef between him and Seagal. During a 1993 appearance on The Dick Cavett Show, the host asked Norris how good of a martial artist Seagal was. Norris hemmed and hawed at first by explaining, "Most of Seagal's movies, his action is done close up. Everything is real quick cuts, so you don't get a chance to really see exactly what he's doing." When Cavett then relayed a story about a martial artist who responded threateningly when he tried to introduce himself at a bookstore, Norris asked if it was Seagal. Cavett responded that it wasn't, but he opined that Seagal looked the part. Then he asked Norris, "That menacing, really rotten kind of guy image that he projects, it's largely acting, is it or not?" Norris shook his head before replying, "It carries over into his whole life." When Cavett then asked Norris, in an odd turn of phrase, if Seagal had ever crunched his instep, he replied, "No, he wouldn't dare." Comedian Tom Segura's distaste for Steven Seagal was plenty clear in a lengthy bit from his 2014 Netflix special, Completely Normal, in which he called out Seagal as one of the phoniest and most unlikable people on the planet. Segura's evidence largely consisted of episodes of the A&E reality series Steven Seagal, Lawman, as he took Seagal to task for being a self-proclaimed expert on topics which he obviously had little knowledge of.
Okay, I'll pass, because that's ridiculous. I don't want to be a part of that.
Segura revisited the topic of Seagal during a conversation with Talib Kweli on the latter's podcast in 2021, as he revealed, "All the stories I've heard about Seagal are pretty terrible, consistently terrible. You go on a movie set and you're like, 'Tell me about Seagal,' and people are like, 'Look, I don't talk shit about people, but I will talk shit about him.'"
They're like consistently saying what a terrible person he is.
In addition to being an MMA champion, Randy Couture has established a respectable career as an actor and a stuntman. Now, Steven Seagal has long had a reputation for not exactly being gentle with the stunt performers in his movies. That might explain why in 2012, Couture jokingly named Seagal when Jay Glazer asked him if he would come out of retirement to fight anyone. Seagal didn't take this as a joke, though. Instead, he declared, "If Randy really wants to fight me, he can fight me anytime he wants. It'll be for free, and it'll be someplace where there are no witnesses." Couture was basically able to laugh off Seagal's aggressive response. During a 2021 interview with MMA Junkie Radio, he explained, "Everybody knows the rumors and all that stuff regarding stuntmen getting injured. I got started in stunts. I was lucky enough to get some real acting gigs. For all the stuntmen out there, I will stick to my guns and say Seagal would be that guy." Brian Cox may be a tremendously talented actor, but even he has starred in a few absolute stinkers, like the 1996 buddy cop action comedy The Glimmer Man, which also starred Steven Seagal. In Cox's 22 memoir, Putting the Rabbit in the Hat, he offered his unvarnished opinions of several of his past co-stars. And he saved his most hilariously poetic description for a certain notorious martial artist. As Cox put it, Steven Seagal is as ludicrous in real life as he appears on screen. He radiates a studied serenity, as though he's on a higher plane to the rest of us. While he's certainly on a different plane, no doubt about that, it's probably not a higher one. Julianna Margulies has a pretty personal reason for her negative opinion of Steven Seagal. When she was an up-and-coming actress, she was up for a part in Seagal's 1991 movie Out for Justice, so she met with him in his hotel room to discuss the part. What allegedly happened next was bizarre and a little threatening. During a 2021 interview on Q with Tom Power, Margulies explained how when she sat on the couch, she felt something hard under the cushion.
And he said, oh, that's sorry, I must have left my gun there. And he took out from under the cushion this big black pistol.
Seagal then allegedly put the gun on his nightstand and asked to read Margulies' palm. She then blurted out that she had to leave and virtually sprinted out the door. While recounting the same story to podcaster Jenny Hutt in 2017, Margulies revealed that she later turned down a similar hotel room meeting with none other than disgraced mogul Harvey Weinstein. There's a legendary story in the martial arts community about an incident that allegedly took place on the set of Out for Justice, on which the late judo master Gene LaBelle was a stunt coordinator. The story goes that Steven Seagal told LaBelle that as an Aikido master, he could get out of any hold that LaBelle could throw at him. LaBelle then promptly put Seagal in a chokehold that he couldn't escape, causing him to pass out and soil himself. One of LaBelle's former students was MMA icon Ronda Rousey, who made it clear that she was familiar with the story when she offered her opinion of Seagal during an interview in 2012. As she put it, Obviously, the guy's a liar. Jean LaBelle would destroy Steven Seagal again. I'd still put my money on him to this day. Rousey also couldn't resist adding, "I would beat the crap out of Steven Seagal. I would have to make him crap his pants a second time." Late rap legend DMX dabbled a bit in acting, including a pair of Steven Seagal movies, 2001's Exit Wounds and 2019's Beyond the Law. The latter effort was probably nothing more than a paycheck for both of them. After all, Seagal isn't generally known to abide people who trash talk him. And after DMX's experience on Exit Wounds, he talked enough to overflow a landfill. For his part, though, Seagal had nothing but good things to say publicly about DMX after their first movie wrapped. Following Exit Wounds' premiere, he told IGN, "I kind of investigated him a little before we began, and there were no surprises. DMX was a gentleman with me. He's reflective, thoughtful, gentle. He respects me, and I respect him." DMX, however, remembered things a little differently. In an interview with Raptor, he declared in no uncertain terms, "Steven Seagal is he's a shithead with spray-on hair." He talked like he was an old slave master. DMX went on to describe how he and his wife joked about Seagal's alleged appalling behavior behind his back, and then he called him an ass for good measure. Eventually, though, it seems that his anger apparently cooled, at least if their latter collaboration in Beyond the Law is any indication.